with that, I think we can kind of jump into our next topic, which is the importance of dads. Now, parents, of course, having both parents is absolutely the American dream, the dream of all life on the planet. But I wanted to talk about the importance of dads because we have my special guest here, Dad. So, with that, we're going to now jump into this topic here. So, for you, Dad, just kind of give us some backstories on your upbringing and how it contributed to the amazing. If I could give you an Oscar, a Grammy, whatever, man, you're exactly. There's nobody I've seen that can top the dad that you are, man. So,
Wow.
what contributed to that?
I appreciate you saying that, though, baby.
Of
I
course.
really do. And sitting here with your son really makes it even better.
Let's go.
But as far as like a dad, me growing up, I wanted my kids to have things that I didn't have, that I saw that I wanted. And that's how, my whole life as a dad was trying to be a dad. I just didn't have a baby and we just change him and feed him. I wanted to do something. I wanted my kids to grow up and want to do what they wanted to do. I wanted them to know the right and the wrong, stuff like that. But other than that, as far as me being a dad, my dad was really not in my life. He was there, but he didn't live with us. And all the things that he wouldn't do, I always said, I'm going to do that for my kids. And that's what I did. You know what I mean? I didn't want to beat my kids. I would talk to my kids to punish them, and they got so, he getting ready to talk, you know what I mean? So that was better than beating the shit. I mean, beating them,
Yeah.
hammering them into the ground, so I did that. And then when you came along, you were like something with my first two kids, my two girls, they were like unbelievable because I had a daughter.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Here I am running after women, and now my woman that I ran after is having a girl.
Yeah.
And then when you came along to have a boy, it was like unbelievable. And me and you bonded just like this.
Yeah.
We just bonded right away. When you were brought home, you slept with me,
Yeah.
all the way. And if I would be a dad all over again if I had to. With the kids that I raised, I would do it all over again.
That's amazing, man.
And I think I got mostly off the subject of what you were asking
No,
me.
you're hitting it, and that's what I'm saying. The importance of being a dad, and so for Pam, my oldest sister, when you first had, like you said, your daughter was first. So
Yes.
for you, my question is, what kind of way, in what way did that impact you just as a person? Of course, moms, like I said, we're gonna definitely talk on moms when I have my mom on the show, but when as a dad, I don't know, did you ever feel like, because for me, I'm kind of not even getting to the point. For me as a father, it's tricky because I feel like mothers and women in general are just gods. Like they have the nourishing, they have the caring.
Right.
So as a man and as a dad, you're kind of like not pushed to the side, but also elevated at the same time because your importance, just your presence is so important. So for Pam, I've seen, like personally, I can see the impact that you being around has had opposed to a woman who does not have dad around. So for you, just being there, how did that help cultivate the first child with Pam? How did that help you be a better person and make sure that you were there for her?
Well, when Pam when Pam was born, I was already raising like my sister's two boys. They're just a few years older than Pam. And I was so into raising them that when she came along, now I got a female. So it took that like velvet glove to raise a girl,
So you had prior experience raising your siblings.
Yeah, my sisters and my brother, I helped raise them, and then my sister had two boys. She had one boy, and we were very close, and we are very close. And then she had her youngest son, and we're very close. So by the time I got used to them, it's another baby here. Now it's my baby, and it's a
Right.
girl. So I just buckled down, and I said all the things that I saw in the past, I wanted to make my future stronger than my past. I built my future on my past. So my past is more or less the ground floor, and I built from that.
Of course.
And I was just hoping to instill all the qualities that I wanted into, my children. It's like education. I was really, really, really high on that because of my education. I wasn't forced to go to school back in the day and stuff like that. If you went, you went. I mean, your parents really wanted you to go, but it was a lot of playing hooky, hanging out at your friends' houses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And all that just went away. It seems like once my daughter was born, and then years later, my son was born, and it was like at the right time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You came at the right time. I was not as wild as I was when I was in my 20s, and things just came around as a parent, as a dad, and I was glad to be in my kid's life. Your mother and I, we raised the 5 kids,
Right.
and it was just a beautiful thing. There was no arguing, it was just a beautiful thing as far as being a parent that I wanted to be.
Right.
Growing up as a child, I said, I'll never do this, I'll never do that, and I did. I'd say 85% of the things I wanted to do, I did, and that 15% I didn't do because I was abused, I would say, mentally in that way.
So your inspiration to be the best version of a dad came from being different, like our first episode talked about, in the world that you were raised. So by your dad not being there as much, you said, no matter what, I'm going to be here for
I'm going to be here.
my kid at the time being just Pam.
Yeah.
And then, boom, you get another girl. Here comes Tiny. How did that feel? Now it's like, I got one, so now here's my second one. Was there a different level of understanding for you?
No, they are a year and a month apart, but they fell into my life once my wife had Pam, then she had Latasha. I was ready for the transition. I had Pam already, and when Latasha came, it was Tasha. When Tasha came, I was ready for her. I had one and one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Was there any fear of or concern about focusing on one more than the other at all?
No, I never had that focus. And today, and this year is April 8th, 2023, if you say one name, you usually say the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Pam and Tiny.
So you were always inclusive.
Yeah. And it was even at a point when I would punish one, I punished the other one. The other one could be coloring, and one could break a dish. The one got to put that coloring book up, and they both get the same punishment.
Yeah.
So I kept them at the same. So there was no one was better, one was worse. None of that.
So you come from a system. I forget the gentleman's name, but he says that usually in life, you get 3 aspects of people. You get the people who don't have that want to create change. You get the people who have and want to replicate. And then you get the people in the middle. I feel like that's where I come in. We weren't poor, but we weren't super rich.
Right.
And I think growing with that at that gray area is the most tricky and the most unique because I'm not out here starving. So it's like I'm eating, I'm good, but at the same time, we don't own a restaurant. We're not
right, a grocery store,
metaphorically speaking, of course. So now you got your 2 girls, and then boom, years later,
I get a son.
What do you think was different? And this is all going to lead to me talking about my boys and my girl now. But what do you think was different when I was born, and then also being a boy?
I think when you were born, the difference was like with Pam and Tiny, I had time, but with you, it's like I had patience. You know what I mean? Now I got time and patience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Raising them, it took time. And then by the time you came, I was patient enough to wait for you. You know what I mean? So when you came, it was a whole package. And along with you, I had your 2 brothers.
Yeah.
So I had 5 kids, and then I had your cousin.
So you had a blended family jump in. So you had Pam and Tiny first, then a blended family.
And then you.
And then me.
Right. So then I got your cousin. So
yeah, we raised a nice solid team.
Yeah. So and everybody that came into our home, I wanted them to feel loved. I wanted them to feel that protection.
Yeah.
I didn't want them to feel like they were just at the house. I wanted
Yeah.
them to have some kind of value there. You know what I'm saying?
And at this moment, I mean, there's another show that does this, but it's saying give people their flowers while they're here. I have to celebrate the life that you have contributed to me, specifically as dad. Of course, there's mom and dad, but today's episode is dad. With you being there, I can't imagine a life without that. And you were there so amazing. Like you said, as a kid, as the youngest of pretty much everybody, I saw you approach everything with love. You know what I mean? I saw you approach everything with conversation, with patience, and I only try to emulate that with my boys and now my girl and my blended family. It's like you've given me your shoes.
Yeah, yeah.
Because now I'm in that situation.
But to me, I'm glad you can wear those shoes and they're comfortable and you feel,
That's
not
what I'm
under
saying,
any kind
man.
of pressure.
It's really the example that you set as a dad. It's you. There's no bar. You've kind of you've shot it out of this universe because again, I saw you work hard. You would come home, you would cook, you still found time for your family. Even specifically for me, man, like you would come in and watch. I know you didn't understand the video games I was playing, but you, you would sit there and check it out. We would watch movies. You made time. You had the work hard ethic. You were a well-rounded father, man. And I gotta just give you all
Thank you.
the props
Thank
for
you.
being
Thank you.
that. And again, setting an example for me to now emulate and try to replicate because now here comes my story. I hit high school and I'm here comes Kalel. And to me, I was frightened. I ain't gonna lie. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
A lot of uncertainties.
That just I'm still a kid. So I'm like, I didn't have that what I feel like you had as far as like you love working hard. I can't stand hard work. I work smarter. I don't work harder. So I'm like, my dad goes to work and he's out in the rain and the heat. And then like, is this what I have to do now? And like, I'm thankful that, your mother was so cool that, I never felt that pressure when Kalel came.
Right.
I felt like again, I'm in a great area where I'm really fortunate to have certain people in my life, and the way that we parented is still cool. Like he's at his mom's, and there's no tension there.
Right.
Not to say that there wasn't tension. There was plenty of moments where it was like, oh my goodness, what is this?
Are we gonna grow out of this?
Right. But as the example that you set as dad, I'm like, okay, my dad was patient with this. He dealt with, because of course, you and moms had arguments, whatever the case may be, but I watched how you handled it. And I think that's what's important for dads to be around, is to set that example. If mom's not there, if dad's not there and you're just watching how mom is handling the boyfriend or whatever the case may be, and that usually that example isn't too good, because first off, that's not your child, whether it be a son or a daughter. And you're now the dad stepping into a woman's life who has a baby, and now this single mother is taking on another man while also trying to raise her kids. It's like, as the example again that I've seen you set with Derek and LG, I've never felt like we weren't all 100%
right
brothers and sisters. You know what I mean?
Always.
Like it always felt like these were all your kids. Excuse me. And of course, that wasn't the case. But again, you set that example. So now with Kale's, then I meet a legend's mother who had a son. So now I get her and her son, and now I got Kale. So now I'm like, okay, how do I balance this? You know what I mean? And again, watching you do it, I always refer back to, it's like that, what would Jesus do? I'm like, what would my dad do? And that's the importance of fathers.
What would my dad do? That's great.
And that's thanks that you set that example, because you could have that opposite. And you came from the opposite of that, of like, okay, my dad wasn't here, so now I get to set my own blueprint of how I want to be a father. You know what I mean? But I saw you and I'm like, I like that. So let me do that. But that's a gift that I have,
right,
that so many people don't. So for you, you got to see, well, let's take it back to Pam and Tiny real quick. Pam got to see a side of you that I will never know, which is the beginning father. Tiny and Pam got to see a side of you that I will never know. So then when I come along, I see this side, and I'm sure they look like, dang, there's a meme that shows Queen Latifah, and it's her and Set It Off. and then her in like now where she's all glammed up, but
Mm-hmm.
instead of off, she was out there getting
Tough,
it. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So that's the version I feel like that they got of you. And then with him, he got to see me grow up and be who I am today, because I wasn't always like this. But at the same time, me raising him, he's also raising me. So for
Mm-hmm.
Pam, I feel like that's a perspective she could possibly have with you, because I'm not, again, I got like the chill version. Like you said, I had patience with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that was seen and felt by me.
But see, that's the way my life was. Like I said, with Pam and Tiny, it was time.
Mm-hmm.
And then with you, I was at patience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So time and patience, and look at what we got. You know what I mean? There's
Exactly.
no bunch of hate and animosity and miscommunications.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like you got the best sayings. I'd rather be early and wait for you than late and miss you.
Right.
I use that today. You got some very good qualities, and if you got any of this from me,
Absolutely.
I really feel great about that.
You should, man. You
I
should.
really
If you're
do.
proud of anything that I am, it's because you were there, man.
I
Hands
really
down.
do.
I think, like I was saying with Nas, I'm sorry, anyway, his name is Nas. Once the family became blended with Legend's mother, I used the example that you said with D-Love, with my brothers and my sisters. I never felt there was any separation.
Mhm.
So again, hopefully in today's world, looking back, her son Nas can look at me and say, you were a cool guy. And that's again because I followed your blueprint. I didn't want him to feel separate. I didn't want him to feel alienated at times. And then boom, now Legend comes. And the reason I asked you, was there a fear of separation, is because not fear of separation but just showing like favoritism. Like I'm thinking with Kel's here, how do I now love another child coming in, which is Legend? So I'm like, oh man, when I found out I was, but I will say this, I feel personally that boys are a lot easier than girls. I don't know what it is yet, because I
think
just
boys are.
had a girl, like she's about to be a year next month. But I'm like, this was fun. This guy right here is like raising myself. It's like looking in the mirror. We get to play with toys and
That's the
video
way it was.
games.
See, I had girls, like Tiny's 15 years older than you.
Yeah.
So she was 15 when you were born. So now I got a boy that I can do things with. You know what I mean? You came at the right point in my life, though. Like I said, it was really good.
That's
Your
awesome.
mother would go travel, and you would stay right there with me, and you hung out with me. You had no problems with nothing that I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, seriously.
It was a good carbon copy of what I wanted in my kids, my son, if I had one.
Yeah.
And when I got one, you're not out in the streets. You're pretty mellow, and I think most of it to your kids, your family. Like me having a Pasquale here and Trey Rock, and then now Yummy. And you got Keno and Deuce.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah, the world I'm in now really set a tone, because again, I'm coming into a woman's life who has a child. I now have 2 children. So I'm like, again, trying to find that balance. I'm always looking for that balance and the ability to adjust to become a better person. That's how I approach life. So I'm like, okay, with this guy now, and it's another little boy. Thank gosh, man. I don't know. Girls just seem like they just take your heart and your soul.
You said it was another boy. What's happening?
No, I'm saying with Caleb.
So
see, obviously she has her son, and I'm bringing in 2 boys. And now we have a blended family. And not only that, but then she has Kyla. So it's like, I really had to take your blue book and now make it mine. And by that, I hope for like him, and with Legend and everybody around me, I hope the examples that I'm setting are great, again, as a father, because the topic is the importance of fathers. So now for you, what is your experience? And it's okay if we have some gripes if you want. Just please lay it all out, the importance that you think of a father.
I started to notice the importance at like a young age. Like with Nas, I wouldn't say like he was jealous or anything, but like it just made him think about his dad, and he would be like, I wonder what he's up to, you know what I'm saying? And so I noticed with Nas, and then going throughout school, like you said, not everyone's fortunate enough to even have both their parents. So like seeing the difference, especially in boys without a dad, I was like, I could really be like them, you know what I mean? But I believe, again, you set great examples, and I was going down that path at one point, but again, you helped me, and I strayed away from it, which was, again, I'm thankful because looking back at it, that future only had two outcomes.
Yeah.
And I noticed that like boys, I don't know why they tend to like go down that when they don't have a father. I think they just look for love in a different area. So like when it's not at home and they feel like their mom is getting on to them, they go out and join a gang and look at them as like new family. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's how me and Charles was. But like again, we wasn't no gang. It was just me and him. It was just us two. We stuck together. I got my dad. He lied to me. He told me he didn't have his dad and that he didn't want him in his life. But then he got back into his dad's life and was like very appreciative.
Are you talking about Charles?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Charles Carter.
Okay, yeah.
So I didn't understood that. Like, I understand. I was like, why would you lie to me? Like, what? What was the reason of that? But I'm just glad he got his dad back.
Yeah.
And he's doing better.
So you've noticed a positive change.
Yeah, I believe it is a positive. I don't think all dads are great. Don't
For
get me
sure.
wrong, but having a male role model in your life is great. It helps you out tremendously, in my opinion.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to my story with you, man. Like I can't speak to the opposite of not knowing what it's like. Because if I had a show, you were there with the camera and trying to create props and supporting my dreams. You know what I mean? And that's a great feeling. That so imagine if every kid, and not even on the level of just dads, but black fathers especially. I really feel like, and I hate to single that out because it seems cliche, but at the same time, it is very important because if we're not following your example and we see another guy out there doing the same thing, well, you're a great example. And we see another dad, like you say, not all dads are great. And usually most dads are raised by the streets or whatever the case may be. So now you got those kids following that. You know what I mean? So to be that countermeasure of what is out there, the easy way, I could say, because usually it seems like can you agree to this? When you have a positive dad or male figure, they're more disciplined. There's more structure. There's more.
Definitely.
So without that, you're kind of freely just doing whatever. You're experimenting with drugs or just treating women however you want to treat them or making decisions that you're not thinking about consequences that come along.
And I believe this plays in back with our first topic. Social media has a big play into it because, again, those become their new role models.
Exactly.
And yeah, again, I still had you in my life. It was not like I didn't have a dad, but I felt the need to do all that stuff. And again, there's multiple males at my school that feel the need to do all that, knowing they have a dad that would not support it.
Right.
But again, social media was their role model, was their inspiration, and they took it and made it their personality.
Yeah. They're following the sheeps.
They are.
And that's a lot of times you have parents in today's world where they're so busy and caught up where they will just give a child a device and let that device raise the child.
Yeah.
And that, again, that's a dark side to, like you say, that first topic of social media. It's if that phone is with you more than your parents are sitting down talking to you or hanging out and whatever the case may be, you're going to 9 times out of 10 find that black hole and get sucked into it. And now you're a part of that cycle of expecting instant gratification, instant results, everything. I believe fathers teach patience. Like with you helped me to learn how to do a full U-turn in a garage, a 2-car garage. That took something special to make
tear down my house, huh?
That could have went really bad.
Drove out the back of the wall.
But your level of patience with me to do that, you didn't have. It was a regular day. What made you just say
make a U-turn in the garage
with the garage closed? Okay, do you understand the? But that right there, to me, I have a really unique perspective on life. That was like some real training right there. I felt like samurai in the forest, learning how to breathe. Or something. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And we did it. It was done.
Wow, you turned it around.
We made the U-turn, but
in the garage with the door closed.
I had that male figure, that importance of a great. I can't even just put too many greats on it, man. You knocked this out of the park as a father.
And something that I wanted to do for him, I took him to a flyaway, and you were there.
Oh yeah.
He had to have the glasses on.
Yeah.
I mean, just being doing things like that made it be dad. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing something with my son, and then he got his son there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So that was really cool, man. He cried to put the goggles on just to have something with his dad. That was so
Yeah.
beautiful, man.
And I think also going back into the dads with the way that, to me, discipline is not punishment. It doesn't always have to be punishment.
No. It's just discipline.
It's literally training again. You're
Mhm.
training your children. And the way that I would say you raised me again was a lot of patience. I don't know if I was bad per se, but when I had moments, you would talk to me like I was just a grown up man. You know, you weren't doing the baby talk. So
No, I couldn't do that.
it gave me a more mature perspective on how you
Mhm.
approached it. And I think that's important for dads to know, man. Like, you know, just because you're especially with boys, like dads and sons, just because they're younger, don't approach them like they're younger. It's okay to talk to them and be bloody honest about something, even if it's a disagreement. This is a moment for you and your father to have, or you and the man that's in your life, stepdad. Hopefully, that you have an amazing stepdad to just again kind of progress each other, because what you're doing in that house, you're gonna take out into the world.
Exactly.
And that shows again with the way school, you know, shootings and stuff happen. What they're seeing is what's at home first, and then they're going out and spreading that.
Right.
So by us being a positive YouTube channel and podcast, we want to infect people with being times 10. So what we're seeing, and hopefully what he's seeing by my examples and Legend and Caleb, and even with Leia now. I didn't touch on that. Let me touch on that really quick. So your life went the reverse of mine. You had 2 daughters and then me.
Right.
I had 2 boys and now Leia,
Right.
a girl. And to me, this is the first time I felt the difference. For some reason with Kels and Legend, it felt so like a left and a right lung. I don't think about which lung is giving more power or not.
Right,
It's just,
right,
I'm just
right.
breathing.
Exactly.
You know? And that's
It's
how
just-
it felt with them.
Mhm.
It still is very just, it's carefree. And now with Leia, it feels like a heart. I feel like, oh, when you get a pain or I don't want to see her cry, I'm really like, I think I might be slowing her down from walking because I'm picking her up too much.
Yeah.
But I really feel like that's a heart. And that's why I say, man, for you, I know that you might not have noticed at the time, but you had 2 hearts first.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then it's like now you got the lung to breathe and be patient and okay, I got this.
But you remember I was saying time and patience?
Yes.
See, you got it backwards now. You the patience with the
Exactly.
boys. Now you got the time to spend with Leia.
Exactly.
So see, it all works out.
Yeah, man. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So now, you know, we've been at it for a minute. I do want to jump into wait, before we do, is there anything y'all want to add to the importance of fathers before we wrap that up?
No, but I just want to say all guys can be dads, but it takes a certain guy to be a father. You know what I
Very
mean?
true.
A father. When you look at the word father, we look at our spirit as being the father. A God, we say that's the father. So just think having that title in being on earth, and you're having a title as a father, not just daddy, but father. That gives you a lot of praise. You know what I mean? Oh, this is my father. When you go to church or when you're in your spirit, you introduce the Lord as your father.
Right.
And that's a very, very high praise. You understand what I'm saying, Squally?
Yeah.
So when you say my father, that's better. This is my daddy. You know what I mean? Okay. You know what I mean? My mama had me for him or whatever. They had me or whatever, but he's not my father. He's my daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a difference in the way you use it, you know, like mother and mama. You know what I mean?
And see, I think kind of the opposite.
Really?
I feel like anybody could be a father, but it takes a true man to be a dad.
Okay.
And it's just a play on words for
But
me.
I was just using the spiritual, you
And
know,
right,
father.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But I understand what you're saying.
Because any man can father a child, in my
Right,
opinion.
right.
So for me, it's like now you're a dad. You have that time and patience, that energy to want to be there.
Right.
So how about for you? Is there anything you want to add to it?
No, I'm just grateful to have a great dad and a
Right.
great grandfather. You feel me? To raise my dad.
Right.
Generations right here.
Not
Right.
being
I love you
blessed.
guys. I love you guys to death, man.
Love you, man.
And I love all of y'all.
So for me, I think I want to end it by saying to the men out there, just if you are a dad or you're looking to become a dad, my advice would be what you've heard here today: patience, time, and love. Of course, the money's gonna come and go, the materialistic things are gonna come and go. But if y'all could be homeless and just sitting under a bridge and your kids love being around you, they don't know what finance is. They don't know what working a 9 to 5 is. So finding that time and that patience for your kids, to me, is the most important thing. And then injecting that with love is how those are like my top 3 recipes. Although sounding cliche, actually implementing those recipes every single day with every chance you get, even in moments where your kids are acting up. I personally don't believe on whooping them. I think that's more for you as a parent than it is for them. But again, discipline doesn't have to be punishment. Discipline can be training. So sitting down and talking to your kids when they have a bad moment, like I said, whether it be a girl or your daughter or your son, having that moment to sit down and guide them, to be guides, to be leaders, to be mentors. They go to school and hang out with a teacher who doesn't really care too much about them for the most part, but they come home to us. As long as we're there and we're present, I think this world could be a whole lot better.
That's good.
So with that, we're gonna jump on our last little fun topic. We're gonna go over 3 films: our favorite action, our favorite animation, and our favorite comedy, and why we love those movies. And then we'll wrap it up. Go ahead, Dad. I want you to go first, man. What is your top 3 films? You got action.
I'd say my top 3 films. I like Face Off,
Oh, Nicolas Cage and John
John
Travolta. Right?
Travolta,
Yep.
Beyond, Steve McQueen.
Nice.
I got an array of movies, but those 2 always
What about
stand
comedy?
out.
What's your favorite comedy?
I say comedy would be number 1. I say would be Life because it hits on all subjects in there.
Eddie Murphy and Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like stand-up comedy, like Richard Pryor comedy, stuff like that.
Okay. So yeah, man. What about for you? Top 3.
I like all the Friday movies for comedy.
Nice.
I just think it was funny and great. I like
That was on yesterday.
Turbo, as far as animation, the Disney movie about the snail that
Oh,
can eventually compete with cars, because I think that is just a great concept. They look at the slowest animal ever, and now he's racing in the Indy 500.
wow. That's an underrated gem right there.
That was a great movie to me. I just loved it. And Jack Frost, as far as like action, I just thought it was great.
Jack Frost. What is that one?
It's about a dude. He has like white hair, and he eventually like ends up taking over the winter holiday. Like,
Oh, okay.
I forgot what did it.
Well, you put the
exactly
topic
about.
on it. I mean, you gave a good. He took over the holidays.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
he's like the opposite of Heat Miser, which is what.
Yeah.
For me, I would say Coming to America is definitely my favorite comedy of all. It's a masterpiece, man. I love the
Coming
love
to-
story. I love the African theme of coming to America and being in this crazy world of. As soon as he gets here, he's told to F off by the what the
By
F
the
you
neighbor.
doing? Yeah, and he's just smiling like, what does dumb fuck mean? Like, he doesn't know.
You don't know none of the American language, the slangs or nothing.
Seriously, man. For action, I would have to say the Matrix trilogy. I love the philosophical side of the Matrix, as well as them implementing the action for the oohs and the ahs and the
Mhm.
slow-mo bullet time. I feel like that really changed so much with
So
filmmaking.
so much.
Like I say, if the story was deep, you can go into the Matrix with 2 sides. You can go for the action, which is usually what I think a lot of people do. And then there's the sub story, man, the heart of it, which is the Matrix itself, the
Mhm.
ability to be in a simulation and none of this be real. It's only what you make it.
You say America, Coming to America,
The Matrix trilogy.
trilogy.
And it was comedy, action. Oh, and animation. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
My
One of
favorite.
one of my cartoons is Despicable 2, 3.
Oh, Despicable.
Man, I love
Groot. Yeah,
I
man.
love it.
I would have to say for me, I'm gonna take it way back to Lion King.
You got to
again.
do that.
I
That's your
just-
favorite. That's
I
your favorite
love-
Christmas ornament and everything.
I think to me though, that emulated life, like how Simba's looking up to his dad, and you're that dad, you're there for me. So the fun that they was having, and when Simba went out to the dark side, when he was told not to ever go there, the dad didn't scold him like that. He was like, you disobeyed me. And he talked to Simba. And that to me was such a dope representation of like a father and a son, what it could be. Because everybody else that I knew, they was getting whoopings. Like, I've heard some stories. And I'm like, goodness gracious, thank you, man. My
I
dad.
done heard whoopings from outside, bro.
That's
like,
crazy. I'm so glad I didn't have that experience. Thank you, Dad.
Yeah. You're welcome. I'm glad
they
I didn't have to
usually say-
experience that.
So look, with that really quick, they say that hurts a child. Would you feel like not whooping me hurt me in any sense?
I think being physically beaten on you, I don't think I never was much on that.
It wouldn't have did anything.
It would have, like they said, it's gonna hurt me more than you. And I
Exactly.
think that's what it would have done. If I
Yeah.
would have been beaten on you, I'm thinking I'm hurting you, but I'm really hurting myself.
For
you
sure.
know?
For sure.
So I didn't want to do that, you know.
Yeah, but so yeah, I think that's a good top 3. So we would love to know what your top 3 films are. Comedy, drama, and animation. Please leave it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today and joining us for the podcast. Now, before we go, Dad, is there anything that you'd like to leave our listeners and our viewers with? A little piece of you.
No, I just like to say, just take care of yourself and keep your family close to you all the time. Stay in touch with your family. Take care of yourself, and have a very blessed day.
Thank you, Dad.
You're welcome.
How about for you, Kels? What you got going on that you want to tell our listeners about?
just like if you enjoyed, leave feedback, of course. And yes, have a good day.
Yes. I have
Don't
to shout
forget
out.
to subscribe to this channel.
There we go. Look at that with the subscribe. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Once again, we want to shout out Ignis Umbra for the amazing opportunity. Everything that you guys are seeing here, if you like it, the sound, the camera quality, everything is helped produced by Ignis Umbra. They're an amazing team. Please reach out and check them out. They can help bring your visions to life. For me, we actually just wrapped up a photo shoot here at Ignis Umbra. It was a vampire club / Blade type of shoot. So head on over to their Instagram. The link will be right here for you guys. Check it out. It was awesome. Bringing back Blade, just jumping back into that whole thing was awesome. Richard really went all out. He had a whole set with blood, and it was amazing. You just got to head over and check it all out. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us today, and do not be afraid to be different, and always times 10.